We are continuing our breaking news coverage on the latest federal execution to take place in Terre Haute. Good evening to you and thank you for joining us. As we told you on News 10 First at 5, the government executed Keith Nelson just about an hour and a half ago. That bell ringing was the demonstrators' way of marking the death. Our News 10's Richard Solomon was there for that. He also spoke with Nelson's spiritual advisor. And we have Patrice Dayton standing by with Aaliyah Blackburn, who witnessed the execution. It's all part of our continuing live team coverage. Let's head out now to News 10's Patrice Dayton to walk us through everything that unfolded.
Good evening, Rondrell. I am live outside the federal prison in Terre Haute, where the federal government put to death this afternoon the 5th inmate this summer. Keith Nelson was officially pronounced dead at 4:32 this afternoon. News 10's Aaliyah Blackburn was the media witness for us this afternoon. We're going to talk to her in just a moment. But first, a little background on this case. In 2001, Nelson pleaded guilty to kidnapping, raping, and murdering 10-year-old Pamela Butler. Pamela was from Kansas, and police found her body in Missouri. Now, as I said, News 10's Aaliyah Blackburn was a media witness for us inside the death chamber. Aaliyah, tell us what you witnessed.
It's a very surreal experience, like I was saying at 5 o'clock. But what I saw was we got into the death chamber, which kind of is similar to an old doctor's office was the first thing that I thought of. You see the gurney, old pale green tiles. It's an old movie type of setting.
Very clinical.
Yes, very clinical. On the gurney was Keith Nelson. At initial glance, all I could really see was like a pot-belly stomach, basically. The IVs were hooked up to his fingers, pale, very pale skin. And I noticed through the reflection that he was looking straight up to the ceiling the entire time. I kept an eye on his breathing. It started off very heavy, quick. In the beginning, it kind of gave off to me nervousness possibly in the beginning. Sure. But the procedure started around 4:23 and ended at 4:32, so about 9 minutes. And the breathing just kept getting more shallow and more shallow and more shallow. And one thing that I saw that was really surprising to me, or one thing I heard rather, they asked if he had any last words and he said nothing. And I mean, I get chills saying that because it was just silence. From what I could hear, I couldn't even hear no. So I think everybody was kind of taken aback by that.
Now, I understand that the victim's family was there. We want to hear from you tonight on News 10 Night Watch about what the victim's family said, but a long road for them for this closure.
Absolutely. It's been about 20 years that this family's been fighting, and the mother especially, she hasn't stopped since the moment Pamela, or Pammy as they called her, was abducted from the front porch. It's just been a never-ending fight, and for them to see that all finally come full circle, the family said that they just feel that it's relief. They feel closure, and they can finally move forward at some degree with their lives.
All right. Thank you very much for telling us that. Aaliyah will have a full report for us on My Fox 10 and on News 10 Night Watch. As you heard at the top of the newscast, that bell ringing, that represented the death of Keith Nelson and protesters who were here for all 5 executions. Richard Solomon has their story. Richard.
Patrice, I did speak with demonstrators here who wrapped up within the last 30 minutes or so, but before everyone left, I did have a moment to speak with Sister Barbara Batista, and she says right now she's filled with an empty feeling and a feeling of sadness after having to watch Keith Nelson die. She says Nelson asked her to be his spiritual advisor for this. Take a quick look at your screen. She spoke with him after he was strapped into the gurney. She says she recited an execution prayer numerous times. I asked her what was one of the things she'll always remember from this execution. Batista says the government worked hard to cover up majority of his body, taking out any chance for human emotion. She also told me Nelson didn't have any final words. He was pretty much silent until he drew his last breath. After he was pronounced dead, Batista was able to bless his body with anointing oil.
The primary emotion for me was one of sadness, was one of, here's a man whose life is being snuffed out in my name.
Batista says Nelson didn't have any family members present, but if given the opportunity, she will be a spiritual advisor for the next execution set. Reporting live in Terre Haute, right by the federal prison, I'm News 10's Richard Solomon. Patrice, back to you.
Thank you, Richard. Now, we will recap what happened again behind prison walls at the end of the newscast. But in the meantime, Rondrell, I'm going to throw it back to you. We are reporting live outside the federal prison.
All right, thank you very much, Patrice.